Hello everyone and welcome into the final edition of the Mercer County Football Show here on WBCB1490.com. Alongside the Trentonians George O'Gorman, I'm Mike Samsel. The Mercer County Football Show is presented to you by St. Francis Medical Center, the Heart Hospital in the city of Trenton, and also Haldeman Ford Subaru, Route 33 in Hamilton Township. George, we talked all season about the football being pretty good in Mercer County. Two Burlington County teams will represent their area in the state title game, and the Nottingham North Stars as well have made it all the way.
Yeah, it's very good that three teams from the immediate Trenton-Mercer County area are in the state finals. Two of them will be part of a doubleheader at College of New Jersey on Saturday, with Florence playing against Shore Regional for the Central Jersey Group 1 title, followed by Nottingham against Neptune for the Central Jersey Group 3. It's a great opportunity for people that like high school football and like to follow the local teams to get out there, because you've got probably the best Nottingham team that there's been, and they've had a couple of good ones, against just another in a long line of great Florence teams that Joe Frapoli has put together. Flash is back in the championship game at CNJ, where they played last year and lost to Asbury Park. And this time, Joe Frapoli and the troops are hoping that they can bounce back with another Central Jersey title.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be a great game. We'll have both of those for you on the WBCB Sports Network. Florence will be in action. That game starts at 10 o'clock, so the pregame show will start at 9:45, and the Trentonian pregame show will start immediately following that on our website, WBCB1490.com, as well as on the AM with George O'Gorman and myself getting you set for Nottingham, as they will be taking on Neptune. And Neptune, we'll get into this a little bit later, George, but an all-too-familiar nemesis. This feels quite familiar.
Yeah, that's, I guess you could say that Neptune is trying to go for the sweep in Klockner Road, because having defeated Steiner last year up at Rutgers for the Central Jersey Championship, coming from behind. And now they're taking on the other team from Klockner Road, Nottingham. So be an interesting challenge for John Adams and the North Stars, who came through with a really impressive 7-0 shutout over last weekend in their semifinal over Long Branch, which I thought was probably a better team than Neptune.
Right. So, yeah, that'll be interesting. We'll preview that game coming up in a little bit. Florence got a 17-14 win over Point Pleasant, and what was a great game we had for you on the WBCB Sports Network. A big pick six by Florence helped tie the game, and then a field goal from Douglas MacArthur helped the Florence Flashes again do what they usually do, and that's advance to the Central Jersey Group 1 title game.
And again, they did it with great defense, as the Flashes always do. They always come through with great defense, and you can't say enough about Joe Frapoli, the winningest coach in South Jersey football. And when you stop and think about some of the great men that have coached football down in South Jersey, and Joe Frapoli being the all-time winningest coach down there, and the Flashes, they've got one loss this year, and they're really, in high gear, and they always seem to be in high gear when they get to the playoffs. And, to go into Point Pleasant Beach and win last week over a Point Pleasant team that some people, like MSG in particular, had ranked as high as in the top 15 in the whole tri-state area. And the Flashes went in there and put a number on them. This was a team I think was averaging like 40 points a game. Florence went in there and, again, with their defense, shut down that wing T offense. And Joe Frapoli and his staff always come up with a great game plan defensively and offensively. And Florence, their championship program, they don't rebuild, they just reload, and they're doing that again this year.
That they absolutely do, and don't let the fact that they're only a Group 1 school fool you. They have some real talent on that team.
They've always had talent on that team, and, it's just a credit to that community, Florence, Roebling area. They really take their sports seriously, and that goes back a long time, back into the 50s. And, Florence was always a perennial power when you had the Morton brothers, three Morton brothers back in the 50s, early 60s. And, even if you don't, and we remember the game, did you ever get a chance to do a game at the Pit?
No, I never did a game at the Pit. They were at the new school, but I was interviewing head coach Joe Frapoli earlier last week, and he said that they still like to carry over that Pit mentality.
They like to do that, and they're serious about it. The fans come out and they bring the field, and believe me, if you're a visiting team going into the Pit, it was difficult, because not only did you have to contend with a great Florence team, but you had to contend with their really, intense fans. But Florence is just a whole different football mentality over there. The whole community comes out and supports the team. Even in the days of the old pit, when the fans across the street from the field would put seats up on their roofs, kind of like they used to do in what was that, Wrigley Field.
Yeah.
I watched the games, but yeah, Florence. There's even though they're not in Mercer County, there's so many connections, family connections with people from Florence who are originally from Trenton, and the Mercer County community really has kind of adopted Florence. And not to say that Northern Burlington doesn't fall into that category too, because a lot of people from the Trenton area have relocated down to Northern Burlington, that Columbus, Mansfield Township area.
Right.
And there's a lot of outstanding talent there. And again, it's really hard to believe that this is a team that for the second year in a row opened its season with a loss of Princeton.
Right.
And Princeton only went on to win 2 games all year.
Mm-hmm.
But more credit to John Rising and that excellent program in Northern Burlington. They've had another great year. And last year they were the top seed, I guess, in Central Jersey Group 3, and got knocked out in the semifinal by Neptune, which went on to win. But now the Greyhounds are back. They dropped down to South Jersey, and huge win last week over Burlington Township, a team that had beaten them rather convincingly just a couple weeks earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And Northern Burlington, they'll be down at Rowan University on Saturday at 4 o'clock to take on Delsey. And wouldn't it be great if all 3 teams from the immediate Mercer County area, Nottingham, Florence, and Northern Burlington, can come through with sectional titles? Yeah,
that would certainly be something special, and that's something we'll keep an eye on throughout this weekend. You could follow our Twitter feed for some updates on the Northern Burlington as they take the trip to Rowan to face Delsey. You'll also be able to follow that on the Trentonian as well, as I'm sure the Trentonian will have some reporters down there. Let's dive into kind of our neck of the woods, George. Central Jersey Group 3, and 2 really good games this weekend, but 2 very different games as well.
Both of them decided by a margin of 7 points last week, as Neptune used a great passing game by A.G. Patterson, threw for over 300 yards and 4 touchdowns to defeat the Allentown Redbirds. And Allentown was in this game all the way to the end, and it's just a matter that Jeff Fairbanks, the receiver, talented receiver, was able to get behind the Allentown secondary a couple of times. And I'll tell you what, A.G. Patterson, for a kid who's only a junior, and he really throws a great ball. I mean, as good as any that you're going to see in any college or in the NFL. I mean, he puts the ball right on the money, and he did that on the opening play of the game. For the second year in a row, Neptune came in and opened up with a deep pass down the sideline, and Fairbanks caught it, and they eventually scored. And then they won the game. But I think the key was that they weren't, Allentown's defense wasn't able to pressure Patterson.
Right.
They let him stand in the pocket and wait for his receivers to get open, and then he just threw the ball deep. And not only did Allentown not get the pass rush that they were hoping to get, but they also didn't get any, INTs down the field. And I think the key was that Neptune was able to take advantage of the height advantage that they had over the Allentown secondary and complete some big passes.
And we always talk about those 2 great quarterbacks that the Nottingham North Stars have, Steven Adams and Luke Westerberg. So, of course, it makes perfect sense that the 1 touchdown in that game came from the arm of Jaleel Bailey.
Well, actually, Bailey, as John Adams said, Bailey, as a freshman, was quarterback on the freshman team, which included Steven Adams.
Right.
But to come up with a play like that, which nobody really expected, and kudos to John Blaine, the photographer for the Trentonian, that he not only got Bailey throwing the pass, but at the other end was able to turn around and refocus and got a great picture of Davion Davis making the catch.
That's awesome.
And it was an unbelievable play, and just as impressive. I mean, it was great to see the North Stars win, but that's the first shutout. I went back and checked it. That's the first shutout by a Mercer County team in the playoffs since 1989, when Notre Dame beat Red Bank Catholic on their way to winning the last title for a Mercer County team in the playoffs. They defeated Bishop Bar a week after beating Red Bank Catholic 17-0.
Maybe some interesting parallels there.
Well, quite possibly. I'm one of them guys that always looks for trends and,
right.
Very traditional about that stuff and almost superstitious.
So we'll give you a preview of the games coming up. 3 teams in our area are playing for sectional titles. We'll tell you about them and preview the matchups. Coming back on the Mercer County Football Show, presented by St. Francis Medical Center, the Heart Hospital in the city of Trenton, and also Haldeman Ford Subaru, Route 33 in Hamilton Township. We'll be right back.
I'm Jerry Jablanowski, President and Chief Executive Officer of St. Francis Medical Center. For over 137 years, St. Francis has remained committed to the people of Trenton, living out our mission to be a transforming, healing presence in the communities we serve by delivering top-quality health care to all in a personal and compassionate manner. We have continually expanded our services to meet the changing healthcare needs of our city. Despite the hospital changes taking place in Trenton, St. Francis will continue to be here, providing all the residents of Trenton with access to top-quality health care, both at our hospital and within your communities where you live and work. Our renowned services in cardiac care, cancer treatment, and stroke care, in addition to our newly designed comprehensive care of chronic diseases, will continue to provide Trenton with the best in healthcare services. Our emergency room is always open for your immediate needs in times of medical crisis. St. Francis Medical Center. We'll be here so you'll be well. I'm Jerry Jablanowski, President and Chief Executive Officer of St. Francis Medical Center. For over 137 years, St. Francis has remained committed to the people of Trenton, living out our mission to be a transforming, healing presence in the communities we serve by delivering top-quality health care to all in a personal and compassionate manner. We have continually expanded our services to meet the changing healthcare needs of our city. Despite the hospital changes taking place in Trenton, St. Francis will continue to be here, providing all the residents of Trenton with access to top-quality health care, both at our hospital and within your communities where you live and work. Our renowned services in cardiac care, cancer treatment, and stroke care, in addition to our newly designed comprehensive care of chronic diseases, will continue to provide Trenton with the best in healthcare services. Our emergency room is always open for your immediate needs in times of medical crisis. St. Francis Medical Center. We'll be here so you'll be well.
Back here on the Mercer County Football Show, presented by St. Francis Medical Center and Haldeman Ford Subaru on Route 33 in Hamilton Township. Alongside the Trentonians George O'Gorman, I'm Mike Samsel, set for 3 sectional title matchups this week in Mercer County. Matchup number 1 will see Northern Burlington take on Delsea down at Rowan University. Delsea had a dominating win last week, 46-0, whereas Northern Burlington struggled with a very good Burlington Township team that they actually lost to earlier in the year. So this is a very interesting matchup.
Very interesting matchup because it showed the, that John Rising's Greyhounds, they can, just because they got beat a couple weeks earlier, they were able to shut down this Burlington Township explosive offense,
right,
and did an excellent job. And here they are in the South Jersey championship game, where they were hoping to be in the Central Jersey last year, moved down to South Jersey, and now they're in the final down there. And that's a great success story there at Northern Burlington. And John Rising and the Greyhounds have really done well. And again, it's just amazing that they opened the season with a loss to Princeton, who didn't win again until the last game of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But give credit to Northern Burlington. I mean, they've had some tough games over the season. Came from behind on the last play of the game, I think, in overtime to beat Willingboro, or to force over. I guess they beat Willingboro on that play. They've lost some. I think they only lost 2 games.
I believe it was 2, yeah.
And but Northern Burlington has done an outstanding job, and John Rising, one of the best coaches in the entire Central Jersey, South Burlington County area there. He's always has his team well prepared, and we get to see a lot of them because they play in the West Jersey Football League with a lot of the teams from Mercer County.
Right.
And the Greyhounds really, an outstanding program.
Yeah, an outstanding program, and it's going to be interesting to see them face off at Delsea. Again, that one will be at Rowan University. 2 games we'll have for you on the WBCB Sports Network. It'll be a doubleheader starting at 10 a.m. with the Florence Flashes taking on Shore Regional. Joe Frappoli going for that state title that avoided him and his team last year. Now they get back to it again this year. They're facing Shore Regional, a Shore Regional team, which, by the way, lost to Point Pleasant somewhat handily. So Florence, maybe even the favorite heading into this game.
I would say, just us knowing what Florence does and how the success they've had,
right,
would say that they've got to be the favorite. But maybe people around the state would look at it and say, Florence got lucky. But believe me, Florence doesn't get lucky. They win because they're good.
Right, exactly.
And they've got a great coaching staff. And, going into Point Pleasant, a team averaging 40 points a game and, defeating that Beach team last week, one of the better wins, probably one of the best playoff wins that Joe Frapoli has ever had. And he's had some huge ones. But this is a great Florence team again, and I mean, you never have to be surprised to find out that Florence is in a championship game. Ever since making the move to Central Jersey from the old South Jersey Group 1, where they had to go against Paulsboro all the time, it seemed. Florence is really, I think only once have they not made the South Jersey or the Central Jersey final, and I think that was last year when they lost to Asbury Park.
Right.
So I mean, they've got a lot of weapons, and hopefully the Flashes can come through and get a win to start off what could be a great day for local football on Saturday out there at College of New Jersey. Fortunately, it's in the area. It's right in Ewing, right off Route 31.
Right.
And an opportunity for a lot of Mercer County and Burlington County football fans not to have to travel too far. Plenty of parking, and it's a good atmosphere over there at Lions Stadium. And hopefully the Flashes can win their the opening game, and Nottingham can come back and make it a sweep for the area with their game against Neptune, the defending champ.
Yeah, that sure would be fun to see if the Flashes can do that. George Koch, Bill Berry, Chris Ermer, and Bill Redner will all be on the call of game number 1 of our doubleheader. Coverage starts here on WBCB at around 9:45. And for, I guess some would call it the main event of the day, Nottingham trying to avenge Clockner Road. On the other hand, Neptune trying to sweep Clockner Road in successive years to win a state championship. UI and Bill Redner will be on the call of that one, and it should be a very fun game at 1 o'clock at TCNJ.
I think the one difference this week can be that I believe Nottingham can put a better pass rush on Aji Patterson, the quarterback for Neptune, than Allentown was able to do last week.
Mario Boswell, Zach Mesday, and we know Frank Gatto can draw up some very creative blitzes
and
as well.
Came up, and actually last week, one of the keys to that success for the North Stars was a 5-3 defensive alignment that John Berry dug out of his old repertoire of great John Berry, one of the assistant coaches, one of the former head coaches in Mercer County, who's on John Adams' staff. Berry having coached previously at Hamilton. Interesting that you've got John Adams, who's a Steiner graduate, coaching the North Stars. His defensive coordinator is Frank Gatto, who was the former head coach at Steiner. And his offensive coordinator is John Berry, who was a one-time head coach at Hamilton West. And in addition, you've got Bob Harris, one of the all-time great running backs in Mercer County history out of Hamilton, who was the former head coach at Trenton Catholic Academy, or I guess back in those days it was McCorston.
Right.
So you've got 4 head coaching minds all getting together and coming up with a great game plan. And I think one of the keys is going to be the not only the pass rush that they should be able to get from guys like Jake Andrasic and Zach Mesday, but also the linebacking core of Ryan Malagrino, Devin Thompson, and McGovern Gabriel. They can put pressure on you, and then they're good in the secondary too with Josh LaJanice, who really came through with some great plays after having been sidelined all week with a shoulder injury. John Talencio, the Nottingham trainer, got him ready, and kudos to him for getting Josh ready to play, and came out and told Coach Adams prior to the game, he said, yeah, Josh is ready. He said, we're going to have him, available. And luckily for the North Stars, he was available and, had some excellent performances on the defensive end, and also had some huge runs for the offense. And by the way, Zach Mesday, another great performance by Zach. And last night at the 12th Man TD Club's final dinner of the year, Zach Mesday, along with Steiner's Enoch Asante, were shared the Fuzzy Falzone Lineman of the Year Award, which is presented by the Benevolent Order of Falzone and named after a good friend of ours, the late Tony Persicelli, who created an award for linemen, Tony having been a lineman himself and wanted to honor the memory of his good friend Charles Fuzzy Falzone. So for the last, 10 years, the TD Club has given out a Lineman of the Year Award. And in addition, the offensive award went to the Player of the Year selected by the TD Club, and it was a no-brainer there. It was Brian Schoenauer from West Windsor, Plainsboro South, who concluded his great career with a loss in the first round of the state playoffs to Middletown South, which, by the way, is now playing for the Central Jersey Group 3 championship, or Group 4 championship. And Brian Shanauer over 4,000 yards rushing.
It's
and
unbelievable.
A great performance, and so he was honored last night by the TD Club with the Frank Mammy Piscopo Award, which was presented by the Santuza Oilers for the last 20 years to the CVC Player of the Year.
So you have the Mammy and the Fuzzy.
The Mammy and the Fuzzy, the rivaled the Emmy and whatever else award Hollywood gives out. But that's interesting about Mercer County football. That's what makes it unique.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, getting back to this game for a second, probably the biggest matchup. You mentioned Josh LaJanice, who is a safety in that secondary. Joe Caparway is going to have to slow down Jeff Fairbanks.
And I think Saquon Hampton.
Saquon
Hampton's going to have a big game in the secondary. But I think a lot of it is that they just can't let A.J. Patterson set up in the pocket and just wait for his receivers to get open. They've got to put pressure on him. They've got to have it coming from all sides, have him moving around. I mean, he's an outstanding quarterback, and he's only a junior. And, you give him time in there, and you make him feel uncomfortable, maybe a couple of pops. Kind of like, what the Giants had to do the other night against, RG3, and they weren't able to do it. Because I don't think this kid is that elusive.
Right.
But you can't let him feel comfortable in the pocket because he'll just stand back there and wait for his receivers to get open. He's got some good ones.
Mm-hmm.
He's got some good receivers, but I think they're primarily a passing team, and I think that the North Stars are going to have to make him feel uncomfortable and get a big pass rush up in front. That's my, valuation of the game.
So it'll be very interesting. George, absolutely looking forward to working with you on another Central Jersey Group 3 title game. It's been a blast working with you this year on the Mercer County Football Show. And thanks to all of our viewers out there who have been following us all year online as well. It's been a fun first season.
Been a fun first season. You're absolutely correct, and looking forward to it, and can't wait till next September gets here now.
Yeah, can't wait until next September, and also can't wait for this Saturday. Doubleheader on the WBCB Sports Network. Florence coverage starts at 9:45. Coverage of our game starts soon thereafter at the end of the Florence game. Here's hoping for the North Stars bringing home the first Mercer County State Championship since 1989. Thanks so much to all of our viewers who have watched this all year on the Mercer County Football Show. A big thanks to all the guys who helped us put this together. Our fine sponsors, Haldeman Ford Subaru, Route 33 in Hamilton Township, as well as St. Francis Medical Center. Big thanks to Matt Miro, Matt Osborne, Bill Redner, all the guys who helped us put this together. For George O'Gorman, I'm Mike Samsel. It's been a pleasure being with you this season, and we'll see you next year on the Mercer County Football Show.